Look at my crown.
Pass it down. Look at my crown. Look at my crown.
I passed it down.
Yeah, so hi everyone on here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Natasha Pollard, and I authored this book, Puffy, with my best friend, Kelechi. And I'm from New York. My dad's from Barbados, mom's from Puerto Rico. I work here in the city as a nurse anesthetist, where I provide anesthesia for all types of surgeries and procedures. And on my days off, working on expanding the book and getting it into more little hands.
So how did you come from that background, of the medical background, to deciding to write a book?
Yeah, so in regards to the journey of becoming an author, it started in high school for me. I remember specifically having a day that I was in the basement of the house, stumbled across some of my old favorite children's books, sat there reading them, chuckling, enjoying the stories, and had a moment of realizing how timeless children's books can be. That even at like 17, I was enjoying these same books that I wanted my parents to read to me over and over again at the age of 4 or 5, or take out the library again and again. And so I remember journaling that day. I'm a big journaler. How cool would it be to write my own children's books that become kids' favorites, that make an imprint on them, that they would want to read again and again, and that would be really special for them. So that continued into my 20s. I got busy with college and school and career-oriented stuff, but that dream definitely stayed in my heart. And the very takeoff of it was me and my best friend Kelly were on a little girls' trip in Mexico. I brought up the idea again to her of really wanting to make it happen in terms of writing the children's book. She shared some of her love at an early age of wanting to do something in relation to children and television, but also how excited she was about the idea of writing the book. And from there, we decided to start writing a book together.
What a great story. And it's so true. I mean, children's books are so timeless, and I think even they speak to older children too, not just little kids, but also, like you said, to teenagers and to adults. And the story you came up with is so creative. I don't want to give too much away, but can you tell us about what Puffy is about, and how did you come up with this idea?
Absolutely, yeah. So Puffy is about a little girl and her curly afro puff, and their friendship and their experience with each other. The inspiration behind it has a couple different layers. One being me and Kelly would tuck to our hair sometimes, and we would take care of it. And then another being this like big natural hair movement in the recent years is beautiful, and we would see more and more books coming out for brown, Black, Latina girls with curls. And I know I had struggled with my own experiences in relation to my curly hair when I was little, and I felt a responsibility to support the message, but we wanted to figure out an idea how to make our story captivating for kids and maybe a little different. And we were like, if an inanimate object talked, that could be magical, that could be different, that could be captivating for kids. And so we were like, what if the hair talked instead of the little girl? What if the hair shared about its experience?
Right.
We were like, oh my God, yes. And then kind of went from there. But really just the inspiration behind Puffy is wanting to empower young girls from an early age to know that their curls are beautiful, to love on themselves, be comfortable with their hair just as it is. Because I think when they have that feeling of comfort, it instills a confidence in them that they're able to walk the world with.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And like you said, I mean, there is this big movement toward the natural hair movement, and it's such an important, it's not just like anything else. I mean, there's so much I don't know, like symbolism or so much power in just the idea of your hair, your crown, you know, and to instill that confidence in a child from an early age is so beautiful. And especially because, I mean, it's such an engaging idea to have the hair talk, but also it brings up this idea of being friends with your hair and loving your hair and having this relationship. I love it.
Yes.
And how did that, I mean, so you've talked about how like you had your own struggles, ideas about it when you were growing up, and you really want to encourage kids, girls, to love their hair and get them excited about taking care of their hair. What do you think is the biggest barrier that little girls face in terms of being able to love their hair and kind of by extension love themselves and love kind of who they are?
Yeah, so I think what comes to mind, especially reminds me of when I was little. Just in this like white dominated like history, culture, society is this big push that with hair, the straighter the better, the straighter the prettier, in relation to hair, and really wanting to break that barrier of curly hair being beautiful just the way it is. I remember when I was little, my dad would do my hair just like Kayla and Puffy on the cover.
Nice.
The kindergarten, just like this. And I would, you know, kids would be like, your hair's too puffy in the negative sense, or it's too big, or did you brush it? And then when I'd go to school with my hair straightened, the compliments would flow in. It would be like, hair's beautiful. Wow, you really look nice today. And you could see what that would do at a young age. And even though at home my parents were pushing, you know, your curly hair is beautiful, it's thick, you know, this, that, and the third. I saw my mom, who is Puerto Rican, who has long black straight hair, and you're a little girl, you want to look like your mom, and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. Why doesn't my hair look like that? And when my hair does look like that at school, that's when I get the compliments.
Right.
So just trying to break that barrier there from an early age, as well as I think a part of the culture a little bit is that curly hair, there's like a burden attached to it of taking care of it. And just trying to spin that into a positive of, you know, yes, curly hair, our hair care routines may be a lot of work, or loving on our hair of all different types of curls and all different types of hair takes all levels of care, but spinning it from an early age of enjoying it and making it a positive experience. So yeah, I hope
I mean, it's interesting you say that. I mean, that's really wonderful. You had that support from home, and yet you're getting all these messages from the outside world. And so a book like this really helps kind of combat that message. My daughter, who's mixed heritage, she has really curly hair, and she usually gets a lot of compliments, but sometimes she really wants it straight, and she calls that princess hair. Talk about that. Why is princess hair straight hair? And it's led to some interesting conversations. And I also just want to talk about, I know you talk about mixed heritage. So you mentioned you have your roots in Puerto Rico, Barbados. Kelechi, I'm sorry, am I saying her name right?
Yeah.
That she has roots in from Nigeria, and that you really wanted a book to empower and talk about the beauty of diversity. And you've touched on that some, but can you kind of get into that a little bit more about just this idea that there's not one ideal way, you know, beauty. There's not one beauty ideal, but that, you know, the diversity.
Yeah, so in relation to diversity, I mean, obviously so important. People with different experiences, different perspectives. Across the diaspora, we're all so proud, and we have a lot of pride of where we come from. And we've also learned to celebrate our differences, which is extremely important. I do think some of those differences sometimes feel not as appreciated in a white-dominated society, culture, the history. But it's important then for us to highlight inclusion. And so even with this book, having a character that is a brown, black Latino, whatever someone identifies with it on the cover of a book, where young kids can see themselves in books, because I know I didn't as much when I was little.
Right.
See themselves and be like, oh, that's me, and relate to a story in that way, is just really important. And then in relation to my roots, one piece I just want to touch on again, and it goes back to the breaking barriers and some stigmas related to the beauty, and even what you said about your daughter with the princess hair. On my mom's Puerto Rican side of the family, as I said, my mom has long, straight black hair. And it's beautiful, but I can specifically remember at a young age some of the family dynamics on her side of the kinkier my curls were. It was like pelo malo, which is like bad hair.
Bad hair, right.
Right, or why didn't I get more of my mom's hair, like the straighter the better, or the prettier, or we got to get a relaxer in her hair, we got to, so that piece. And I know that happens culturally in a lot of, Latino backgrounds. So that piece too, just I wanted to bring up at a young age, again, reminding, love your hair just as it is. Your curls are beautiful no matter the length, the size of the space they take up.
Yeah, that's really beautiful and such an important message for kids to have. I wanted to go back a little bit to the idea that you wrote this with your best friend, which I think is so cool. What was that process like? How did you guys work on it? What was that collaboration like for you guys?
God, there's so many pieces to that. So I'm from New York, Kelly's from Houston, and we went to the University of Miami together. It's where we met.
Okay.
So us being best friends started there, also sorority sisters. And I felt like we probably got even closer after school, near or far. We've just always loved on each other. We would FaceTime to work on the book, and we can talk for hours. So our FaceTime meetings would be like maybe an hour of girl talk, and then we'd be like, get to business, let's start working on the story, or wherever we were at in our process. And the first word that comes to mind is just fun. It was a lot of fun. The writing piece, it was exciting, just coming up with each page of what we wanted to say and getting people's feedback. And it was also obviously a lot of hard work too. I think at first we wrote the story and that was a lot of fun, and then keeping fun in mind as you're doing also the hard work of, okay, we decided we wanted to self-publish the book. Wow, we love this idea of the creative control self-publishing gives, but you're doing everything yourself, between finding an illustrator, getting the book formatted, finding a printing company, marketing the book. So staying on top of that together. And then I will say, just like any friendship, any sisterhood, there are challenges. One that comes to mind is I can be a little bit more of a type A person. It'd be like, okay, this is the timeline. Like, we said we're going to do this one. We said we're going to meet at this time. We said this is going to be done by this time. Kelly is a little bit more type B, with that free flow. And I think that was really helpful, where she'd be more of a pressure relief valve. And we just, our personalities complemented each other, work on such a big project, and create such a beautiful book.
That could be, I'm sure that must be a real test of friendship, to work on something like this together at the same time. I mean, what a great project to do together.
Yes, absolutely.
So is there going to be another book?
Yes. So we've already said, like, okay, we want a Puffy 2, 3, 4. What would that look like? And we've bounced around ideas of maybe Puffy meeting a friend that has a different type of hair, or maybe Puffy and Kayla going on travels. Kelly's currently in dental school, which is a grueling program. And as we were really diving into the book finally. I was coming out of anesthesia school. So right now we are not working on a Puffy part 2, but we would love to, especially after she finishes school. We're right now just pouring into continuing to get, continuing to pour into Puffy's expansion. And this year alone, the response to Puffy has been amazing. I think first it starts off with like you're nervous about people loving your story. You know, children's books can be meaningful but very simple for kids. And as soon as the book came out, there was all this support and love from friends and family. But then seeing other people really support the book, send pictures, send paragraphs of my little girl now like is excited about brushing her hair, or she's talking to her hair in the mirror, or she wants to wear her hair like Puffy and Kayla's. And then just
So if you're seeing, I know it's hard to watch the screen as you're talking, but you're getting a lot of really lovely comments about people who just love the book. So
I didn't even see that. Thank you. It's heart melting. It means so much to me. And a big thing this year, we've been expanding more and more into schools.
Nice.
And schools like place huge bulk orders for their classrooms. And then on top of that, try to get the book out to parents so that children can have their own book to take home has just been, it's been really, really exciting to see this dream just come true. So thank you for everyone's support, and thank you for talking with me today.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. It's been so fun to talk with you and hear more about the book and kind of the process behind it. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to go look at the social media and the website. It's a really beautiful book and a great concept. And thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you. Yes, please. At the Puffy Story. Please.
Pass it down. Look at my crown. Look at my crown.
I passed it down. Look at my crown.